College Football Update with your host, Sean Spencer and Alex Loosemore.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is your boy, Sean Spencer, one half of that dynamic duo that is Let's Talk Football. And ladies and gentlemen, we are back.
Yes,
we are
sir.
back to talk football. You see who it is, the reigning national champion himself with the Michigan Wolverines, my guy, Mr. Alex Loosemore. Welcome back, buddy. What's up, man?
Not too much, man. Welcome back to you as well. It was great to sit down Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and again tonight. Have college football back. I know there was week 0. This is the legit thing. Everybody is back playing. Some upsets, some domination, some games that came right down to the wire, even overtime. Everything we could have asked for from week 1.
Yeah. And listen, let's just stay here for a second. It is back. For all the offseason, we've been through a couple off seasons together, you and I. Last year, we talked about it all off season, and it helped. But is there anything like just that feeling when you know 12:01 kickoff, games, flipping through channels, man? What was that like for you this year, coming back 2024 season, man?
Oh, pure bliss. Like, it was just like one of those things, wake up, and I slept in a bit, so I woke up like right at kickoff.
Yep.
And it was just like, oh my God, it's here. Like, ran downstairs. It was like a kid on Christmas ready to open presents, like flipping the TV on. Like, come on, what game can I find? What game? Like, had the multi-view going, as many games as I could get. And, oh, it was just so good to be back.
I hit you up in the group chat. I said, Merry Christmas, Alex Loosemore.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
So good.
Oh, man. Both of our teams are back. Both of our teams got a W. Some was a little bit easier than others. We're definitely going to get into that.
That was tough for a while.
Right. You guys definitely had a struggle. It wasn't a cakewalk, man. But at least we know fireworks came off in our game, even if they were for the wrong team. It's all good. We can take it. But look, since we are talking college football, I did want to mention something we had talked about. Obviously, last year, if you followed us, we chronicled the entire season that was the Michigan Wolverines from literally the end of the season when they lost to TCU and everything the year before, all the way through to the national championship. And, you know, we know there was some suspensions. There was some things. We covered everything Jim Harbaugh, and we found out what came out. Connor Stalions stealing signs, something that's not illegal. Everybody does it, but the lengths that he went to are a little bit much, to say the least. Obviously, the Stallions, there was a Netflix special that is out right now. I haven't checked it out. I'm going to check it out tonight. Alex, you have checked it out. Yep. You were right there. Every week, you hanging on every story. We talked about it. What are your thoughts on the documentary? Do you think it was good? Or
I think it was. They did a great job. I think it was. Stallions did a great job of showing all the legal aspects of what he did.
Yeah.
Didn't go into the illegal side, which if you're saying there's nothing wrong, you're wrong.
Right.
He played in the gray area on every single rule.
Yes.
And some of it crossed over into that illegal territory. It absolutely did. There's no denying that.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking in the group chat earlier, me and EK there. The only thing that's left to find out now is the same questions we had before. Who knew? Right. And to what extent did they know? Who funded it? Who okayed it? Who, like, that obviously still needs to be found out. I don't think we're going to find it out for a long, long time.
No.
Essentially, once the NCAA, like, statute of limitations are up, then it might be like, oh, so-and-so knew, so-and-so did this.
Exactly.
But Connor Stalions is a brilliant mind, a brilliant individual. What he did with that that whole scheme was insane.
Yeah.
And he kind of touches on the manifesto a little bit and shows you a little bit of what went into it, and just the stuff he was doing, the mind he had for it is wild.
Yeah.
But he played a little too close to, he flew too close to the sun and got burned a little bit on some. So, if you haven't watched it, definitely go watch it. It was a great watch, about an hour and a half, and really goes into the depths of all of it. So, it was really good.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna check it out. Obviously, we've been talking about it. I felt like I was there next to you because we talked 2 or 3 times a week about it. So every news story, every report that came out, you would share it with me. I would read, this and that. But just the craziness and just how close, how blurred that line is to the things that you actually can do and that have been done. You hear coaches talk about it all the time, that it's like, yes, we all steal signs. That's part of scouting. You're trying to figure out what the other team is going to do. And it's weird because in some ways it kind of made it out like it's more on the team that's making the signs, that if you're not switching your stuff up and you're not being fresh and new, if your stuff gets stolen, I mean, that's kind of on you, man.
And I mean, listen, like the week Stallions got fired, and sorry to the people that watch this that cheer for Little Brother, but it was the Little Brother game. They used 0 signs whatsoever.
Yeah.
49-0.
To be fair, they didn't need any help in that game. I mean, Michigan State rolled over, all right?
And I mean, but that's the thing is, and I said this time after time last year too, knowing the signs only gets you so far, because when he was reading the signs, it was, run right, run left, pass. Like, it wasn't like, it's the counter to the 7 hole and the tackle and guard are coming over to take this guy and this guy. It was run left, run right, pass. Yep. They're signaling right before the play, and then you've got to get that call into the defense real quick. So yes, they know what type of play is coming. The players on the field still going to make the play. So there's definitely an advantage. An advantage was taken. There was stuff taken advantage of. Absolutely. I'm not denying that. But at the end of the day, the team still won the game.
Yeah. And and I think that's the big thing. Like, you guys won all the games, even without, when they had to take, they suspended Harbaugh, when they suspended Jerome Moore, whatever. That team was by far the best team in the land last year. Like, they did it week in and week out with whoever was at the helm. They were band together, and you're not going to take that stuff away from them. So to your point, anybody that knows anything is going to take that stuff to the grave, and let's just keep everything as is. All right. and move on. But we know it wasn't Little Brother. We know it was a certain nut that might have come out and squealed. We know the rivalries run deep.
And they, so at the end of the documentary, they show the NCAA interview in April with Stallions and his lawyer, to further their investigation, and they flip that question to them, like how was this info gotten? Did it come from a certain school? Did it come from these certain people? So they're trying to kind of flip that investigation back that way too. So, it was very interesting.
Oh yeah, they know they did wrong. But it's all right. It's all in competition, man. It's all in competition. But you guys got the ring, so there we go.
NCAA said we won fair and square too. So
there it is. Yo, let's keep going. Hey, appreciate all of you guys that are out here joining us. For those of you that don't know, welcome to College Football Update. College football is back. Games are back left and right. We even got a game that's going on tonight. And for you Florida State fans, I know you guys are definitely going to be interested. But we got to get into our teams, man. You see the Michigan over there. You see the North Carolina. We got some other people we got to bring in here real quick, man. We got our guy that is, we got him in a little window because he just got back from deployment, and he's going to be going back out in deployment. And if you know this guy, there's one word, say it twice, baby. Quack, quack, baby. What up, Alex?
What's up, guys?
Not too much, man. Happy to have you on.
Oh yeah.
Happy to be here.
How you doing, bud?
Send Dylan Gabriel to the ACC.
Oh,
Send the whole O line to football camp because they don't know how to play their job or do their job.
I was gonna say I will disagree with you on that because we had the same scenario, just 5 guys instead of 4. When you have all those new starters, give them a couple weeks, it'll all be fine.
To Idaho.
Give them a couple weeks.
right.
If that's the thing with the offensive line. If one guy messes up, they all mess up because it totally screws up the assignment. So give them time to gel together.
Idaho.
A win is a win.
Right. A win is a win. Hey, hold on real quick. We got one more guy we got to bring in from a place that's very close to me right now, the team that I watch and follow closely in that Big Ten. My guy, Mr. Nathan Snell in the Maryland Terrapins. What up, Nate?
What's up, fellas? How y'all doing?
Doing well.
Doing very well, man.
Very
Glad
great.
to be back, my guy.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. So look, we got y'all here, and there's many more that obviously gonna talk their stuff, but we got to talk about our teams. We got to talk about our squads, because right now, all 4 of us got a dub. That was great.
Yep.
Some of us, it was by the skin of our teeth, by a couple missed field goals, but it's still in the win column. That's all we're gonna say. But look, I'm gonna go to our guest first, and we already see one of our guys is ready to talk. So Alec, I'm not gonna hold you back, man. You know, we all expected to see the Oregon Ducks just totally blow the doors onto killing Idaho. That's not what we saw, man. And you alluded to it, man. Talk to us. Just go ahead and let us have it, man.
So I don't care if we're playing Idaho, Kennesaw State, or whatever O-line problems. Since I've been a fan, there has never been a single opening game against some team from middle of nowhere where we've only put up 24 points. And then you look at the team stats, 8 penalties for 60 yards.
That's worrisome.
And that's all from the O-line. You mean to tell me your whole career, your whole high school career, and you go to NFL, the college, and you think doing that is going to help us? And we're playing Boise State next week. It was a little bit better,
just a little bit.
Idaho. And then you got our whole O-line is over here folding like lawn chairs. Our quarterback hit in the hand. Like Tez Johnson, it wasn't even the leading receiver. That's the sad part. Run game was inconsistent. Dylan Gabriel looked lost out there. Everybody can praise Dylan Gabriel all they want. I don't give a flying rat's. Looking at 24-14, even though we always average like 60 on opening week game, that's not Oregon's motto. That's not their go-to. If you think like all these people on the offseason are like, oh, you're so blessed to have Dylan Gabriel, you're going to win the Big Ten. I look at this game, that's gone. I will not believe. I'm not going to believe a single thing people say about my team.
A win is still a win, Alec.
If this was November we're playing against them, we automatically dropped like 3 spots because we didn't prove to them.
But that's the thing, it's August.
Yes, exactly.
Look at our schedule. We gotta go to the Big Ten play.
That's why you're getting the wrinkles out now, though. Yeah. That's game 1 for Gabriel in the offense. That's game 1 for so many guys in that offense.
Like, look at the schedule. Like, it's like we're playing against Boise. Then we gotta play against Oregon State, UCLA, Michigan State. Then we go against Ohio State.
So you've listed 2 good teams in that next 4 games.
Or
5 games. Sorry, 3 good teams in the next 5 games.
But look at Idaho. Like everybody thought like when I watched that game, I was like, I saw the schedule. I was like, Idaho, we'll put up 70 against them, no problem.
We all thought.
I get it.
And normally you would, but normally you don't have this many new pieces.
We've had that 2 years ago.
This many new pieces? 4 new starters on the O-line, a new quarterback, a new running back, 2 new receivers.
Well, we had well, actually, Tez Johnson.
You had essentially a whole new offense.
The two receivers, Tez Johnson's been there. Our running back's been there. Even when we had Bo Nix
but they weren't starters. That's the thing. They weren't relied upon to make big plays.
Tez Johnson was relied last year. It was him and Troy Franklin.
Yeah, that's one guy.
Whole new team.
But even then, when Bo Nix stepped in, most of those players were all new. And you know what Bo Nix did? Hung 70 on their head. No problem. No sweat.
Now, to be fair, I think Bo Nix is a lot better than Dylan Gabriel, personally.
And that's why I'm an undercover Broncos fan. I don't care.
No.
Him and Troy Franklin. Yeah, no, that's fair.
Yeah.
But I don't know. This team is just something in that water in Oregon. They overlooked their opponent. And I seeing that, like, I already left. I was like, you know what? I better come back. I better see 20 more points on that board. I come back, same score. Yep. And then they let them almost come back.
Yeah.
Like if it was like 24-0, I'll be like, okay. The defense is Jabbar Muhammad, God bless his soul, was the one that was saving us in the secondary.
Yeah. Yes, he was.
If he wasn't there, most of those receivers would have torched us, hands down. But I'm going to give Alex the benefit of the doubt. But best believe, in 3 weeks' time, if this team ain't hanging 70 on UCLA, that group chat, what I'm about to see, is going to be rampant.
Now, 70 against like a Div 1 team, let's...
Hell, put in Dante Moore.
Be breaks, right?
Yeah, put in Dante Moore.
Like 40-ish against Boise State, yes, but that's a damn good team in Boise. I mean, Michigan State is probably a couple years away, so you should beat the brakes off them. You should beat the brakes off Oregon State because they lost everything. Yeah. Now that is a rivalry game, so that could be closer. Ohio State, y'all best be ready because that's a. Now, to be fair, they didn't impress me that much either this week, but I think Jabbar Muhammad against Jeremiah Smith make Will Howard go to the rest of the offense. I think you've got a game there. You guys are going to be just fine. It's a week with a ton of new pieces.
It's gonna be an interesting look. It's gonna be an interesting season, but yes, you guys have to adjust, and you will in time. And by the time you get to that November 9th game against this guy's team, the Maryland Terrapins, you will be seasoned. You'll be ready to go. But look, let's move on to the Maryland Terrapins. We got to talk about it because we didn't expect that game against Oregon versus Idaho for be 20 as close as it was. And likewise, I didn't expect Maryland to drop 50 on UConn, man. So Nate, talk to us about this game, man. No more Talia, no more some of these NFL wide receivers. You still got Hemby, but you got a new quarterback. What do you think, man?
I'm 50 points. I was surprised. I thought they'd at least slowed it down by at least the fourth quarter. I mean, I Billy Edwards, I knew coming into the season was going to be the starter. Because coming into the season, everyone was like, well, you got MJ Morris from the transfer portal. And I think he did everything right in the practices. My biggest concern was our offensive line. I mean, we had 5 new players. Kyle Long is the only one that's coming back. And then we got a redshirt senior from Purdue. He was our center. I think it's Kautenberger. So, yeah, I mean, it was practically 5 new, if you look at it, 5 new players. But I mean, for both sides of the ball, I mean, we did what was expected. But it was against a UConn team that's led by Jim Mora. They're not the best at really anything.
No, except for college basketball.
That's about it. Cam Edwards was the only one that really came back last year because he was a redshirt last year, if I remember correctly. Their defense was okay-ish. I think they were ranked somewhere top 100 last year in rushing yards, but I mean, they had turnover at pretty much their quarterback and receiver. I thought their red zone defense, that was one of my biggest things, and there was a couple of times where we were in the red zone and then they had no answers. So one game is not enough for me to say, yeah, we're going to make some damage in the Big Ten. Because, I mean, it's UConn. I like to see how they look against Virginia. How they look against Michigan State. I want to see how they look against those teams. Can you put up 50 points against those guys? And then, especially we get to the Ohio States, the USCs, painfully. That's what I want to see. Continuity.
Well, and you get the Big Ten right away, right? You get Michigan State next, don't you?
Yes.
Okay.
Michigan State's next. Mm-hmm.
So coming into that,
the next. Mm-hmm.
Oh well, no. I mean, actually, no. Virginia put up 34, I think, on Richmond, but it's Richmond, so we'll see how they go. But let's go to that Michigan State game. I mean, they jumped out to a 16-0 lead against Florida FIU? Was it?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And then
FAU,
FAU, yeah. But then they came back in that game. So I mean, they're also, we talk about new teams. They got new coach, new quarterback, new situation. I mean that's going to be a good test because both your defense are looking nice right now. What do you think going into this game with Billy Edwards and your rushing game?
My biggest concern as far as the offensive line, honestly, if I had to give them a grade, based on how they looked against UConn, I'm being nice. I'm going to grade right now on a curve, a B-. I mean, for the most part, I thought that they it's expected they're going to have ups and downs like the first 4 games. I say by week 4, we should see everything, the cobwebs, everything together. But I mean, in that game also too, I should have pointed this out. All 3 quarterbacks, MJ Morris, Cam Edge, and Billy Edwards, they all played. They only did give up 1 sack. So, but I mean, that was downfield coverage that was pretty exceptionally well. And then he just didn't do well in that pocket on that play. But so when it comes to the run blocking for me and pass protection, especially with Hemby, there was a couple times Hemby and the rest of the group had to create holes themselves, and I think that has to be something you got to work on. You got to create holes for your running back, and if you're not doing that against a defense like Michigan State, it's going to be a long game. Defensively, the same thing. Our front 4 needs some work. I mean, sure, they gave up. They were less than 100, but right around 100 yards they gave up in the first half. But physically, you're going to get worn out, especially when you're playing the Michigan States, the Michigans, and other Big Ten opponents. We didn't record a sack against UConn. I can't defend that. You're going to have to be effective at stopping the run and rushing the passer, and I don't know. It's going to be something. Those are my 2 on both sides of the ball I'm looking at, but everybody else did well. Preston Howard, I thought was fine. I do expect him to kind of be not like the focal point of the offense, but I do expect him to get touches on the ball more. Wide receivers outside of Ty Felton, I mean, they're pretty much, I think it's just more of a plug and play. UConn, I expect Michigan State to do this. They took out Caden Prather out the game they double teamed him and they rotated coverages on him. So, but I mean, he still found ways to make plays. The biggest concern I have is, especially if you take Caden out the game and Preston out the game, that kind of your number 2, number 3, so that's another question. The UConn game did not really show me who their number 3, especially number 3, number 2 wide receivers are at the moment. So there's still questions, but my biggest 2 focuses on the offensive and defensive line.
Oh yeah, and I mean, and it's just 1 week. Obviously, it's always, it's funny that Dr. Pepper always talk. They have that new commercial about the hype train, how people they're jumping on there, and then all of a sudden, beep, wait, you never know how quickly you can get off that. So it's gonna be interesting to see. But this is definitely something I didn't expect, and I'm glad we did see. And I just now realized this. I'm gonna go to you next, Alex. I didn't realize now that Oregon is in the Big Ten, this is a whole Big Ten panel right here.
Yep.
Except for
you want to come join us? Come on.
I mean, we're coming. We're coming. You know that. I want to come back. But look, I'm gonna go to you. Your game. You guys got the dub, 30-10. It wasn't as the score says it was a little farther away than it was. It was late pick six by Will Johnson that definitely helped to seal the deal. But talk to me about it. First game without JJ, first game without Harbaugh and McCorum, the national championship defense. What are your thoughts, man? Were you satisfied with that, or it's a dub?
The defense, 100% satisfied with. I've been pounding the table all offseason. I expect this to be a top 5 defense. I am holding true to that. I think this defense is elite at all 3 levels. Nate, sorry we had to take Jayshon Barham, but thank you so much for him.
You're getting a dog, and that's all I'm gonna say. You're getting a dog.
Oh yeah, I realized that after playing you guys last year, and I was just like, man, if we could get a guy like that, and then he came, I was just like, I was so excited for that.
Yep.
Him and Ernest Hausman, so good defensively at that linebacker spot. They can do everything you need them to do. To me, I mean, Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham. Good Lord, that's 2 top 5 D tackles in college football, I think, right now. And then those edge guys played very well as well. Derek Moore, Josiah Stewart, both got after the quarterback late when it was pin their ears back and go time. Will Johnson's still that dude. The one receiver, Moss, made a couple really good plays on him where people were like, oh, Johnson's getting torched, but he's right there trying to bat the ball out, and the guy just held on. Johnson, to me, is still that guy. That pick 6 at the end showed it. He read that screenplay beautifully. They set it up the play before by faking that screen and doing a bubble to the guy, and he took off. And then the next play, they tried to throw that screen. Johnson just took it and went. Makari Page was insane. Laying the hammer, had a couple picks, even though they were called back. On the one drive was just stupid penalty after stupid penalty, and it was all the same guy. EJ, oddly enough, his last name was Guy. But I thought the defense was very good. The offensive line, the 5 starters, or 5 new starters, and some of those backups from last year went pro. That's how good that offensive line was. Oh, yeah. You had 7 guys drafted. So 5 new starters, a couple transfers coming in, center and guard. Now, the backup center, when he came in, the offensive line played much better. They started to gel late. It was one of those games where they kind of had to get their feet under them and get rolling. I don't know what's going on with Donovan Edwards, but he did not have a good game. Kalel Mullings was awesome, though. Yeah. And I think it was that same kind of thing Nate was talking about with the offensive line, and you need to open those holes for the running back. Edwards was kind of being patient, sitting there waiting for the holes to open, and they just didn't. Where Mullings at first was just like, screw it, I'm going to make my own hole, just bury himself into the line, and eventually just pounding away, those holes eventually open.
Yep. And
it was interesting to me that come crunch time late in the game, it was Mullings that was getting the ball time after time after time. The one drive, they handed it to him 6-7 times.
Yeah.
Now, the carries, it was still pretty close. I think it was 15-20 for Mullings and 10-15 for Edwards. But Mullings outpaced Edwards in snaps, killed him in yardage. I'm not impressed by the quarterback play. I didn't like either guy.
Really?
Davis Warren, to me, it's the same criticism I had for Anthony Richardson when he was trying to go pro there. Great within 5 yards.
Yeah.
Can't hit a guy further than 5 yards to save his life.
Yeah.
The only receiving threat we had was Colston Loveland.
Yeah.
What's up?
I have a question, sir. Is that scheme or is that coaching?
To me, I think it's I don't know. That's a good question because they were sitting back single high safety. They were daring us to throw the ball. They loaded the box. I mean, we still ran the ball decently well. Fair. But it was just like they were daring us to throw, and the only guy making plays was Colston Loveland. Like there were a couple where we had guys get open, decent routes. Ronnie Bell's little brother, actually, if you remember him from a few years ago, his little brother's starting now. It had some beautiful routes, but they'd throw him the ball and it would hit him in the chest. Like it was just, the receivers did not play well. Samaj Morgan, when he got open and they tried to get the ball to him, did pretty well. Tyler Morris was solid on the like 1 or 2 touches he had, but Warren, I think, threw like 5, 6, 7 deep balls, didn't connect on a single one. I think he threw an interception on the one. It was very underthrown, probably by about 5 yards. Like it was awful. Where JJ, he wouldn't throw the ball deep often, but when he did, it was right on the money, or it was where nobody could get it. Where these throws just weren't good, and then you threw Alex Orji in, and him running the ball, I really liked. Those read options, he took a long time making those reads, like did it perfectly. But then he had one where it was one of those RPOs, and he kind of rolled out and was supposed to throw to the flat, dumped it 5 yards in front of the guy that was 10 yards away, like basically threw it straight in the dirt.
Yeah.
So it was just like, to me, I was kind of sitting here like, can we either start the true freshman Jaden Davis, who's balled out in camp as well, but the plan is they're redshirting him. Like that's been set in stone. They're not playing him. Or I'm kind of sitting there like, once he can get healthy, can we throw Jack Tuttle in there, the 7th-year guy
at Indiana? Yeah.
I like him a lot. I mean, he's got the experience, obviously 7 years.
Well,
but to me, he's kind of a good mix of what both these guys can do. Yeah. Where Tuttle's that good, accurate thrower, but he can move now. Like obviously, when he came to Indiana, he was slow, like 4.90 or like 5.0 40.
5.0, right?
Now he's down to like a 4.5, 4.6. Like he's gotten exponentially faster, so
nice. He
can move a little bit. So to me, I wish we had another week before Texas, but I think it's a great challenge as well.
Absolutely. Hey, you might as well. I mean, at this point, it's I think doubly good because number one, even if you do struggle and you don't, win, it isn't the one that kills you. You still have, more opportunities to win. But also, just like all of us, we're all sitting here trying to figure out if what we saw in week 1 is accurate. Do we still need work? All of us, the consensus is most likely our teams all definitely still, we want to see more from them. We're not necessarily, they're not in November, December form right now. But no. I mean, obviously,
I'd say there's like 2 teams that are though. Like,
exactly. Well, you have Georgia, and then Texas.
Yeah. I was gonna say you could argue Texas, you could argue OU. I mean, Ole Miss put up like 76, but it was against a nobody as well. So it's just like, again, how much stock do we really take into those? Where Georgia just beat the brakes off a ranked team.
Exactly.
I think we can take a lot of stock in that.
Exactly.
But as far as the rest of them, it's like, how much can we really take?
Right. And which is going to make this season a lot more interesting, especially the deeper into the season we go, because instead of it being 6, 7, 8 teams that are involved after November, now it's going to be 20, 30 teams that actually have a shot in their conference to win. And then who's going to get in there? And I couldn't have said that any sooner, because we need all the help we're going to get. So no, we're not in the Big Ten, but we played a Big Ten team. We played Minnesota in the first week, got the win 19-17. In the process, lost our quarterback, the former Texas A&M starter, came over here, Max Johnson, son of Brad Johnson, who for Washington fans was our quarterback. Tampa fans, you guys know him. Did he
Minnesota as well?
Minnesota, yep.
Dallas,
yeah. So he's been around the league, so it was cool seeing that. I didn't find out until my quarterback went down with the hip injury, out for the year. So our backup Connor Harrell is coming in. He was also the backup last year for Drake May. They say the guy's got speed. We've seen that. He's got full force speed. But I think it's the same concerns that you had about the Anthony Richardson thing, where it didn't look like when he came in there, the defense knew what was happening. We weren't able to kind of get the ball downfield. Thankfully, we had the safety blanket that is Omarion Hampton, who had 30 carries.
So good.
Over, you know what I mean? Him and Ali Gordon are, in my opinion, the top two running backs in the league, in the nation by far. And we did what I wanted us to do. I didn't know what Max Johnson was going to bring this season, so I wanted us to do heavy run. We absolutely did that. But going forward, it's going to be interesting because now that we have Connor Harrell, both years he did not get the cut. Now, last year it was going up against Drake. Drake was number 3 pick in the draft, so we understand why he lost that battle. But this year you had a guy transfer in 1 year and then take the job. So now we know he wasn't their first pick. They're going to have to pattern their offense after him. Mac is trying to get everybody together and say, hey, we're going to follow this guy, and I'm all for that. But thankfully, in this situation, we have a running game that we can rely on, that is going to be there consistently. And we showed out we have a defense. We have a defense that we held them to 4 of 12 on third down. They had 6 penalties for 50 yards. And, we had 5 total sacks on defense. Javari Ritchie had 3 sacks himself. I mean, our D-line, was creating havoc all throughout the game. But at the end of the day, we relied on fate. Their kicker missed 2 field goals, including the game winner that kept us alive. It was one of those great games. Obviously, if it's your team, it's one of those that's like, can we just – I don't want to answer my text. I don't want to – don't hit me up with anything. I'm mad.
Everything goes away.
Right. Like, please just do – and it was one of those where it was like, you're excited that you win now, but that day, the way that we played in that, it was like, I felt like Alec. I was like, we're doing this game. We're terrible. Why do you even show up, man? Take the jersey off. You're garbage. You know what I mean? Not Omarion. He was great. But
that's
the rest
how I felt about both quarterbacks.
Right. It was ridiculous, man. So that's where we are. We did get the victory, which is great. All 4 of us got the victory. But look, let's go into it. Alec, I'm going to come to you first. Let's talk about some of these games. Week 1, what are some of the ones that you watched? I know you talked about watching that LSU game last night. What were your thoughts, man?
So the only games I really watched, the Georgia game, it was kind of interesting at first, but with how Georgia is, I never count my blessings because I always pray on Georgia's downfall, no matter what. Sorry, Anthony. I will forever pray on Georgia's downfall. But the second half it turned to Thanos every time, so that was inevitable. And then I watched the Miami game. That one was no brainer. Florida. The fact that the Miami players literally left the stadium and looked at the Florida recruits and said, "Go to Miami. You'll be better off there." That was just a slap in the face. And
yes, it was.
Florida will not answer back to that because that head coach gotta go.
Napier, I can't defend him anymore. I mean, you guys know I've been on here trying to defend the guy. Used to coach at University of Louisiana. The Raging Cajuns. I thought he can bring it to the SEC. That doesn't translate well. You can't bring that to the SEC. Has not been able to translate, man. So, keep going, Alec.
And then going into the Arizona game, that bad boy McMillan.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Bud,
he is that dude.
304 yards off of 10 catches, 4 touchdowns.
Yeah.
But that game was just amazing. And then the game yesterday, the downfall that is Chip Kelly loses to Lincoln Riley in the fashion that he always does in the fourth quarter. I'm not shocked. Everybody else was shocked. They're like, "Oh my God, it's LSU! Like, how do we like?" It's Chip Kelly,
Brian Kelly.
My bad.
Yeah. That's 3 years in a row, right?
I think
he's lost.
It's like 3 or 4.
Yeah,
3 or 4 years.
This is his 3rd year there, right?
think it
Yeah,
is.
And then he's lost opening game every year.
Like, at what point does the leash end here? Like, you start off 0-1, 3 straight years. I mean, it's not how you start, it's how you finish.
Yeah.
But I don't know what it is with Brian Kelly. Like,
I mean, for starters, they play against good teams to open the season every year, which, why?
Yeah, right.
Like, to me, one, I mean, it's different now. Like before, when it was the 4-team playoff, that win really boosts you, but if you lose, it kind of tanks you. So it was risky there. It's a little different now that you can lose 1, maybe 2 games and still get in, depending on which ones you lose. But yeah, why play such a good team to start?
Right. Well, let's stay right here and ask this. Nate, I'm gonna kind of ask you this, but we're gonna go back to those games. Of the teams that we talked about, Clemson with Dabo, Florida with Napier, some of these coaches, I mean, we got to ask that question. I mean, they should be concerned for their job. Man, what do you think?
I don't know. I gotta coach them better. No, I'm just kidding. No, in all seriousness, I just think it's number one, the transfer portal plays a role, NIL plays a role. It's also how you recruit. Example, like Brian Kelly, coming from Notre Dame, it's a totally different ballgame in the SEC. Mm-hmm. Like, you got you on your P's and Q's when it comes to coaching, recruiting, all that. I do like there's some coaches that do deserve some grace, especially when you're coming into programs that were mediocre before you got there. Now, are you supposed to beat teams like LSU should have did last night? Absolutely. But some of it's not like I can't always put it on coaches. Like, it's how you practice, it's how you play. And that's where I think a lot of it also has to be taken into consideration. So, like, when you see games like last night, like, I could go into a film session and go, well, if you'd have ran this route right, or if you'd have saw this safety drop back, you should have seen those things. Right. It's just, I think it's all about just how really players prepare for the games. I mean, I wouldn't say like a guy like Brian Kelly, for example, should be on the hot seat. I wouldn't say that like that. Now Napier in Florida, like it might be time, because like when you have your opponent telling recruits come play for us. Yeah.
What that player did on Instagram or whatever after the game.
That's not a good look. I'm sorry.
And no, Alex, I'm gonna bring this to you. I mean, let's go to Dabo. I mean, we know his success. We know what's made him great, but some of the things that they say is some of the things that they said about Saban. He can't change. He's going to stick with how he does things. And it's doesn't seem, he has great defenses, but it's not working in these big games like this.
Yeah, well, I think Saban begrudgingly he didn't want to change with the times, but he eventually did. You looked at what they started doing with the transfer portal and NIL and all that, and he caved because he knew he had to, and started to kind of bring them back to dominance again. Dabo still refuses, and I don't know why. Yeah. You look at it, they've got, I think they said before the game, 0% starters are coming from the transfer portal. Like, and I mean, Georgia, I think they said only had 11%, but that's Georgia, who's, you've got 32 5-star recruits a year, and I swear they get 25 of them. Like, yeah, it's a little different when you're looking
definitely
at,
do an NCAA 25. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a little different here looking at it when you're looking at Clemson, who isn't having that same success recruiting high school kids anymore either. Yeah. They're not getting as many 5-stars and as many 4-stars as they did, because you're starting to see, hey, I can get this kind of money here, and all the leveling, or the playing field starting to level out, and they're getting left in the dust. Yeah. So to me, Dabo's probably not on the hot seat because of what he's done for that school. I think it's justified if he is, though. Something's got to change there.
Yeah.
But to add on to Alex's point also as well with NIL and the transfer portal, you know who's also winning? The mid schools. Like
Yeah.
the days of going to the Alabamas, the
Yeah.
Kentuckys, the Clemsons, the Ohio States, that's going out the door. I mean, and also, and some of it also too, I think, is a little bit of like Dabble's old school. So
Yeah.
as they say, you once you get older, you're stuck in your ways. Like it's his program, he's built it. He could do whatever he wants. But I also too, I think there, you Alex said it. You do have to adjust with the times. Nick Saban did it, but it does come to a point where you do kind of have to go like, do you just want to be like here or do you want to go here? Like, if you just want to be here, yeah, be prepared to be just a mid-tier school. But
I mean, go ahead.
I was gonna say we know all the success that they have had. So one side you could say, hey, we can rest on that. We in the CFP, we were in there year after year with like 6 or 7 years straight. But to your point, the best coaches, and we saw in the Georgia game against him, the best coaches make the adjustments. And that's why Kirby Smart is so successful right now, and he can continue to just bring in guys right one after the other.
Of course, we talk about Georgia and Anthony shows up in the comments.
Oh, there it is. I didn't even have to look at I didn't have to look. We knew that he's gonna come in because we were talking about Georgia. What's up, Mr. Handy? Ladies and gentlemen, definitely tune in later on this evening. I know the Georgia boys will be happy talking about how they crushed Clemson 34-3. Check them out on This Week in Georgia Football, Anthony and Colin. But yeah, I mean, to that point, we have to praise we gotta praise Kirby Smart for the fact that he made the adjustments. He's been able to continue to adjust, continue to bring guys in, and the turnover has been great. And we've seen that his success has equal to that because they are what are they, 40-something 2 in the last 3 years?
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, man. So let's go back into it. And while I got you, Alec, I'm gonna come back to you because we're gonna talk about stay in your old conference, the Pac-12, and go to the game that everybody wanted to talk about, everybody wanted to see, the Colorado game. They played North Dakota State, got the win, but it was close. We saw a great game by Shedeur, great game by Travis Hunter. And but they still it took them to the wire, man. Are these guys for real, Alec?
Never.
Wouldn't expect anything less. That's why I sent it to you.
It's more so like they're still years down the road. Like they're still like maybe like 1 or 2 years away. Like I'm not gonna like the way that team is. I think Alex talked about this probably last season. That once they get more familiar, like with fixing that O-line, like the O-line, I think it was some of the depth of the linebacker position. That team can go places. Like Travis Hunter, like that man got to pick a position because he can't do that in the NFL.
He's going to be playing wide receiver in the NFL. You see those paychecks those wide receivers are getting? He's going wide receiver.
And then like I'm not really sold on Shedeur at all yet. Like, yeah, it's Colorado State, and they have their beef last year in that whole altercation. I gotta see more of it down the road. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying he's a terrible quarterback by any means necessary. I just gotta see more from him. And the way that schedule is, let me see. I actually got it wrong. It wasn't Colorado State. It was North Dakota State. I apologize.
Yeah.
But looking at that schedule, there's no reason why they can't win like 8 games, maybe 7. So they will be like itching their way to the way the new playoff system is. So they'll find their way like down the road, like clawing their way in based off how things go with them and their rankings. But I'll give Shedeur like a solid But like, performance-wise, like an 8 out of 10. But the team itself, like if I was a Colorado fan, honestly, I wouldn't be upset. Like the fact that Deion Sanders started coaching last year for them, they're slowly starting to improve because I haven't even seen their stadiums really packed like that. But they're like one or 2 years away. Not saying they're the worst team. They're just like 1 or 2 years away.
I wonder what Colorado is without Shedeur, Travis Hunter, and Jimmy Horn Jr.
Oh, I'll tell you who they are. The team that we hang 70 on.
Well, I was gonna say not a good team.
That's my concern. We know how great these guys are, but to this point, I don't necessarily think it was. Well, I'm going to look at their schedule now. I don't think this was one of their easier games, North Dakota State, because I agree. Much respect for them, but I do. Without those three guys, and God forbid anything happened to those, we saw what happened when Travis Hunter got hurt last year. So it really makes you wonder: is Deion, how good of a job is he doing out there? He revamped the whole O line. Shedeur throws for 400, but they still don't have a run game.
Yeah, I mean that's fair, but again, like everybody last year, was bragged about. Well, he took over a program that only won one game. True. And then everybody raved about he won 4 games. You have to give a program time. I'm going to use Maryland as an example, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Alex can vouch for me on this one. DJ Durkin was our head coach. The whole thing with Jordan McNair and handling that. The offensive coordinator for the Pittsburgh Steelers took over after the whole he got fired. Matt Canada gets fired. Mike Locksley comes to College Park. What does he do? He changes the culture. He brought Talia with him. He's bringing in guys that are brought into what they're doing. 3-4 years later, he's now been in the ball game 3 times. The same thing with Deion. You have to give it time. Like he came from Jackson State, but within Jackson State, I think like he had to fight for a lot of resources. Here in Colorado,
he had to do it all himself, essentially.
It's exactly. So it's like you have to give him time. Now, some of those games, in fairness, last year they lost by what, like one possession, so 1 point. Mm-hmm. So I mean, there are things you can build on.
Now
you can build on.
Also, in some of those, they had big leads that they gave up.
Oh, yes,
for certain.
But
to your point,
at it, if they had Travis Hunter, they probably beat USC last year.
Also, in some of those games, they decided to step on logos,
everything,
and proceeded to get smoked.
Okay, yeah. Look, they got their Carver for that. All right,
yeah.
But to Nathan's point, they are like with a program to go from 1 win to wins they had last year. If the only the vouching point for that is they would have to recruit. Like, I'm not sure what their recruiting is this year. I haven't really followed their offseason recruiting. They're gonna have to find somebody, because I know Shedeur's probably knowing him, he'll probably next year will probably be his last season. He'll probably be like, I see all this money.
Not this year.
No, not this year. Not this year. Next year.
He's going pro after this year.
Well, what's his name made it clear that he's gonna do what Eli did. He's gonna basically control where he wants to go, and I'm not keen on that. But
who said that? Deion said that.
Deion said that.
Deion said that Shedeur's gonna pull an Eli if the situation ain't right. That he'll just straight up tell the team, "I'm not going there."
Oh,
yeah,
I feel like if I was him, I would wait, maybe next season. After next season, because they're gonna find because if they don't prepare for that, they'll be back in the same hole.
See, but he's gonna be a top 10 pick next year.
But
I don't know what the recruiting is like. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's a good point.
They're gonna find somebody, because once they lose players, they're gonna go back to square one again. Mm-hmm. They can't take 10 steps forward and then 12 steps back.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think the other question is also going to be what Travis Hunter does, because if Travis Hunter leaves, I think the likelihood of him staying after Travis Hunter goes is small.
I think they're going to both leave at the same time.
Right.
Yeah, they're both going to be top 10 picks next year.
But I mean, but the thing is also too, like Dion, he did bring in recruits last year and transfers, and then you did hear some pushback, like, yeah, this wasn't the school for me. Yeah, I wasn't feeling how he was coaching. So it's kind of like our guys bought into the thing, and that's one of the things for me I stress about when it comes to recruiting, like especially with basketball and football, is when you're being recruited, are you picking the school because of it's the name, it's the coach, or are you picking because this is a place where I can go and grow and say, hey, this is a school for me? Don't just pick it because, well, it's Deion Sanders, or it's Dabo, or it's XY, or Johnny Appleseed. It's like those are the things that have to be taken in consideration. And I think Deion is going to build. He's going to build something. Yep. It just needs time. And again, like coming into this season, like he's already getting criticized because, again, it's Deion Sanders, the publicity, and the media attention, and unfortunately, and this is a business. You have to produce. You can chirp, but at the end of the day, did you produce? And I say, like Alec said, I think they're another year away from being great.
Yep.
I mean, to bounce off what Nathan said, like players, like they take the way coaching and I feel like with the transfer portal and the recruiting, it's basically how like the NFL is. It's about stability. And before, if correct me if I'm wrong, there was players that weren't going to, like, I'll use my team as an example. The players we got in the transfer portal and / commit, like recruits from the commitment, if Dan Lanning never stayed and we went to like Alabama, we never would have got those players. But Dan Lanning said, this is the team I want, to coach, the program I want to run for years down the road. And players saw that and like, okay, he wants to stay here and build something off this team. And which landed Jabbar Muhammad, all these transfers that we got from in the offseason and through transfer portal, all the commitments we got. Dante came back because he's like, okay, now I see
bastards.
Something's going here. They're growing more and more. Yeah. It's the same thing with Michigan. Like Michigan, with how they're going down the road, like when they lost Harbaugh, some players stayed, some players didn't stay. It's all based on where if they lose a coach, where it's going to go after that.
Oh yeah. The Nike money don't hurt, like Eric said.
But we can't help where Phil Knight went to school at. It's not our fault. He went to school there. We can't control that.
But to your point, that I think that makes perfect sense. And to Nathan, like, yes, some people want to come there because of Deion, but some people also don't want to go because of Deion. And Deion, telling reporters they can't talk and they know Deion's going to be the show. You're not going to be the show. It's going to be that. But a lot of people like a stable place. And I got to talk about it, Eric. I know you were in here. You were mentioning you want to talk about the game, the Notre Dame, Texas A&M game. Riley Leonard played his old coach, Elko, who's now over at Texas A&M. Notre Dame gets the victory 23-13. This one was back and forth. Alex, I'm going to come to you. Riley Leonard, obviously, we know how I felt about him prior to this year. F Duke, and that's where he was. But even still, I was on here week after week telling you how good this guy was. Great dual threat quarterback, gutsy quarterback. And I think all of that was on full display in this game against Texas A&M.
Yeah, pardon my French, but if Riley Leonard isn't there, they get their ass beat on Saturday.
Yep.
He saved them so many times in that game. The poise that guy has. There were so many snaps that were on the ground or way off to the side or whatever, and he just picks them up while a running back's falling over him and makes the play. Like, the dude was insanely poised for game one in a new offense. he calmed everyone down around him, righted the ship, and made the plays they needed to play against that's a very good Texas A&M team. That's a team that's going to be ranked at the end of the season. Elko, what he's doing with that defense and the players they brought in, that's going to be a very good team. And they went into their house and handled business. Yeah. Riley Leonard's a phenomenal quarterback, severely underrated in the list of the league's top quarterbacks or the nation's top quarterbacks. And he was everything. He was everything we essentially expected Sam Hartman to be last year. He was the guy to right the ship, lead them in the right direction, and come crunch time, didn't falter and led them to success.
Oh yeah. And I think one of the underrated things about this is how good that defense was. I mean, Connor Wegman of Texas A&M went 12 of 30 for 100 yards. I mean, these guys, 2 interceptions. That defense from Notre Dame stepped up to the plate and really shut down, for the most part, that gave a good Texas A&M offense, man. And I'm going to say, like, I was very impressed by how dominant that defense was. You know what I mean? And then obviously you had Riley Leonard and everything on the offense, but with how dominant that defense, I mean, we could see these guys, if they can fully get that offense clicking.
They're the 5 seed.
Yeah, by far. We could see these guys really go far this year, and I'm here for it. I know there's some Notre Dame haters. I'm not one of them. I love Rudy. I love Joe Montana. Let's go, Fighting Irish. Let's go.
With the team behind me, I'm clearly not a fan of Notre Dame, but I can put that bias aside. This was their toughest game. I think this by far was the toughest game on their schedule this year. They've got a relatively easy schedule. Obviously, you still got to take care of business against Florida State and USC. But it's extremely realistic for these guys to be 12-0, walk into the playoffs as the 5 seed, and I think that's what's going to happen.
Oh yeah. As long as they can continue this running game. I mean, between Riley Leonard, Jeremiah Love, and then Jordan Price, that's almost 200 yards just between the 3 of those guys. I mean, that will definitely help.
5 yards a carry, almost 6.
Right. So that's going to open up that play action game and getting Riley Leonard out on the edge, getting him where he can be more mobile, and use some of that on the run, some of his throwing ability on the run. I think that's going to be key for Notre Dame coming in this fall. Wait, go Irish is good. Yes, it is. Let's go. I'm doing that in my NCAA 25 dynasty right now. So yeah, I'm with you guys. Oh man. But look, hey, we are going to go quick, move on. Hey, I'm going to take out these guys, Alec and Nathan. We're going to bring you guys back in a little bit towards the end. But we're going to talk a little bit about some of these games you might not have seen. So I'm going to come to you first, Alex. What are some games that we might not have checked out this weekend?
For me, the big one, I've told you multiple times, this was my favorite game of the weekend. Vanderbilt and Virginia Tech in Nashville. Went to overtime, absolute barn burner. Phenomenal game. A guy we've praised for as long as I can remember with doing these shows, Diego Pavia. Left New Mexico State, came to Vanderbilt, and all he did was be their leading passer and leading rusher. Like the dude killed it. Phenomenal game against a team in Virginia Tech where me and a lot of other people have them as a sleeper to potentially win the conference.
I was on board.
This is a team that's gonna win 8, 9, maybe even 10 games.
Yeah, and
Vanderbilt took care of business, and the defense looked good. The offense looked good. Like this, I think this is the best we've seen Vanderbilt since James Franklin was there. And I know it's one game, but this was, to me, what Clark Lea's built. And like we said, it takes time. Year after year after year, build it up, get your guys, do what you want. He took over control of the defense again, and it was good. It was really good. Yeah. Don't know how good it's going to be in the SEC. We'll have to wait and see. But you look at it. I think they beat the brakes off Alcorn State here. I think they beat the brakes off Georgia State. Obviously, you're going to lose Missouri, Alabama, Kentucky, Texas. But there's
Ball State can win that one.
I think this is the team that I think it's realistic for them to be expecting to be in a bowl game.
Yeah.
And that's a tough schedule. They got to go to Auburn. They got to go to South Carolina. Like, there's some very difficult games in there. But it's hard not to believe in what Clark Lea's building there. That was a phenomenal performance by Vanderbilt.
I mean, and to your point, they jumped out 20-0 on these guys. I mean, I was in the group chat talking to you guys like, yo, what Vanderbilt team is this, man? So, like you said, Clark Lee having those guys motivated. We know a couple years ago he said this could be a national championship team, and everybody gave him crap for it. But to your point, what he's building year by year, and then to bring in Diego Pavia, one of the great things about that is that they switched that offense to the offense that he ran over there. So the things that he's doing, he's familiar with what's going on. And you see that he's a leading passer, the leading rusher, man. And not to get too ahead of myself, but my game ball, because that's our guy. But I love that he has now found a home out here in the SEC. And Virginia Tech, to your point, is no slouch. The lights were not too bright for him. And even when they came back, they had to rely on him to keep it done and get the win in overtime. So, yeah, I was so excited to see that one. Another one that you and I talked about, and this was more just to see what this guy was going to do, Nebraska, the quarterback.
Dylan Raiola,
Yeah, Dylan Raiola, man. I wanted to see what he does. Obviously, he wears the number 15. His favorite quarterback is Patrick Mahomes. He's trying to follow him. You can see the hair. It looks the same.
Yeah.
Hey, look, he wasn't advertised. I mean, Nebraska put up 40 on UTEP, and he came, and I was not disappointed. What were your thoughts when you saw him?
It was better than I expected. I thought 18-year-old kid, yes, it's UTEP, but that's going to Nebraska with the history and everything there. That's a big environment. That's a tall task for an 18-year-old kid to walk into that stadium and be what everyone's kind of viewing as the savior, right? Like this is their guy, this top recruit. Let's build this thing back up. And he exceeded expectations for me. Like, I mean, you look at it, 19-27, 240 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. That's a really good performance.
Yeah.
Against UTEP isn't a slouch. That's a solid group of 5 program. And he handled business against, I mean, we've seen the last few years and it hasn't been good. And especially the quarterback play has not been good. And he comes in and he's probably the best quarterback they've had in 5-10 years.
Yeah.
Since like prime Adrian Martinez.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like this is a good sign for Nebraska. Really good sign. This kid can ball. And he's doing it early.
Yeah, and it's what's needed. I got a buddy that's a Nebraska fan, and he has been waiting for this. I mean, an old school Nebraska fan, the days when they were winning national championships back to back, and Tommy Frazier and all this stuff. So he's been waiting for these days to come back, and he was so excited to see. And look, what better test than this coming week? They got Colorado. So
under the lights, yeah,
exactly. So both of these two teams that are definitely looking to see if they can, take that next step. I'm so excited to see Ben. What's going on? He said as long as Nebraska does, they should be fine. Yeah, well, yeah.
Or the Sims family either. Jeff Sims was awful.
Oh my goodness, I feel for the guy. The guy used to be at Georgia Tech. He's transferred of it. He can't seem to get it. Yeah. I don't ever advocate for anybody to switch from quarterback to another position, but quarterback ain't fitting here.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, I
don't know. But look, let's keep going. Let's talk about some of these quarterbacks that transferred out. Arkansas's old quarterback went to UCF. They killed New Hampshire 57-3.
Yeah.
Ohio State's old quarterback, Kyle McCord, leaves the Big Ten and comes to the ACC. Thank you very much.
Forced out of Ohio State. Forced out of Columbus.
To come to the ACC and dominate in Syracuse as they went 38-20. Throws for 354 yards, 4 TDs. Guy balls out, man. I mean, look. The coach was on there saying, I need to send Ryan Day a bottle of champagne for how good this guy is. We knew the talent. We knew how good he can be. What is
Yeah.
this going to do for a Syracuse program now?
I mean, this is another team where it's been a solid roster around them, but the quarterback play just hasn't been there.
Yeah.
This is a guy that's played in some of the biggest games. In McCord. I was like, his name just left my mind. Yeah, McCord's been on the biggest stages of college football. So you get a guy like that that's been there, done that, and he can come to Syracuse and kind of be like, let me lead you.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is the perfect spot for him. I think while he was on those biggest stages, I thought the lights were a little too bright for him at that level last year. But I think he fits in really well with Syracuse and what they're trying to do. And this is the team that, I mean, you look at every year, they start off like 3-0, 4-0, and then they kind of tank because then they got to play real football. You've got a quarterback that's used to playing real football now. I think they might kind of start to take some of those games away now. And Syracuse is going to be a dangerous program this year.
And you look at them, and then and especially in lieu of the recent weekend, Florida State struggles, Clemson struggles. So you got DJ struggling, you got Klubnik struggling, Max Johnson obviously gets hurt. I mean, Kyle McCord is slowly. I mean, he's rising up the list of the best quarterbacks in the ACC now, and we didn't have.
He's number 2.
Right. So I mean, this. Especially with those teams kind of losing, and we'll see what happens to Florida State tonight. Sorry about that, Ben. But no, is the answer to this question.
I think they beat the brakes off Boston College tonight. They better. Hey, that's all I'm saying.
And hopefully, but now, mind you, last year they struggled with Boston College. They beat them 31-29 late because Boston College had that penalty. And Castellanos, that quarterback for Boston College, is no slouch. He's a dual threat guy. And if he gets on the edge, definitely watch out. Miller Mozzie, Cam Ward.
I'm throwing Diego Pavia right in there.
I was about to say, we got Devin Dampierre too. I think we might have some people that could compete with that. But I like what you're saying. Appreciate you watching it. But no, absolutely, man. I definitely loved seeing that. A couple of the games, Northwestern had to play on their, I believe, practice field, which is right next to
the soccer field. Was
it on the soccer field?
I think so.
Yeah, which was right next to the water. I mean,
right on the water there.
Yeah, that was beautiful view out there. I mean, come on now. They're getting the W over Miami of Ohio, 13-6. Boise State destroys. Not destroys. It was a shootout, 56-45 over Georgia Southern. Loved every minute of it. I'm going to talk about one of their running backs, but let's real quick before we go to our game balls. Can we talk about Arizona real quick? Can I say,
yeah, please. Let's do that. I froze there for a second. My bad.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Because look, that game, I did too. Yeah. So, are we back? We good?
Yeah, I think so.
Arizona putting up 61 against New Mexico. Alec was talking about it earlier. McMillan just went off 340 yards, 10 receptions. Fafita, 422 yards. Alex, we talked about Fafita. We talked about McMillan last year.
Yeah.
Both of them could have taken so much money to go elsewhere, decided to stay and come to Arizona.
And the coach left too.
Right. So we've seen what they did. And I New Mexico is 0-2, and they lost after being up last week. They lost after this game to a team that I think was a lot better than them.
Yeah.
What is this for Arizona? Like, how good can Arizona be this year?
If I'm not mistaken, I have them in the Big 12 title game this year.
Ooh.
From doing my predictions earlier. I really like what Arizona is doing. They started the season ranked 21st. That was too low. To me, this is a team that should have been borderline top 10. You've got Fafita, who went toe-to-toe with Caleb Williams last year in LA. Was one of the best quarterbacks in college football last year. First game goes toe-to-toe with him. McMillan is unreal. He's so good. And then, I mean, I can't leave out the running back either. Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt was 13 carries, 106 yards, and a touchdown. So, like, this offense is so insanely good. and it's a veteran offensive line, which, as you've heard from the conversations tonight, if you've been watching the whole time, few and far between this year from these top teams. So Arizona having one is a huge bonus. They got to figure out the defense. To me, there's no way New Mexico should be putting up 39 points on you. But this offense, this team's going to go as far as this offense takes them. Because Fifita, McMillan, Krosky, Merritt, that O-line, this is a team that's going to be dangerous for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Been saying, Bronco Mendenhall, wishes he was back in Virginia right now. Bob Davie couldn't even make New Mexico a decent football program. Mendenhall has his hands full. He does, but we know Mendenhall is able to change teams around. We know what he was able to do in Virginia. And I'm going to be honest. So I totally agree that, this should not have been a game. Arizona should have been better, but I don't want us to sleep on that New Mexico team. Devin Dampier is a solid quarterback, especially in that offense. I shared something a week ago where he had that unbelievable fake where he just fakes and just sat there for a second and nobody in the country knew he had it, and then takes off on that 20 or 30 yard QB bootleg. The guy can play in this game, having over 260 yards in the pass and then also 130 yards on the ground. He is that offense. And for a while, it was back and forth. It was toe-to-toe. I mean, until McMillan started really taking off. So, look, New Mexico. But New Mexico, I think they're kind of on the verge, a couple more pieces, and a couple things to go their way. Obviously, that first week, I think it was North Dakota State. It was
it was an FCS team. I know that.
Right. That they ended
Montana State,
who again in FCS is one of those teams that goes to the playoffs pretty consistently. So there's no sleepers, but they have definitely came back on him. But look, I'm interested to see if New Mexico can turn around, because I think they have a good team. At least I'm down for their quarterback.
Well, I mean, you look at it. Props to the Mountain West Conference this week.
Yeah,
like Boise State playing that well, UNLV beating the brakes off of Houston.
Right.
Fresno State going toe-to-toe with Michigan for 3 quarters. Like there were some amazing performances across this conference this past week. Like phenomenal job by the Mountain West Conference, and showing why the CFP committee put in that spot for the Group of 5 champion, the highest ranked one, because I personally think it's gonna be from the Mountain West.
Yeah.
I really think it's whoever wins that conference is in, because Liberty's got too easy of a schedule where if they fall off once, they're toast. And to me, it's just how many good teams there are in the Mountain West. I think if you've got a team like Boise State or Fresno State or UNLV or whatever that goes 10-2, 11-1, maybe even runs the table in that conference, I think that's your 12th seed and who gets in.
Yeah, man. And look, these guys can play out here. As we've seen, they can definitely score points. We'll see, with the defense. But, hey, into this, I think Barry Odom was finally the guy to make UNLV football relevant again.
He's doing a great job there.
Exactly. We see what he did this past weekend. And I, to your point, I fully agree with this, man. I love it. I love the resurgence of these teams that had been kind of down for a couple years, and now it's starting to bring back up and really challenge some of these top tier squads.
Yeah.
So
definitely, it is dangerous to play a Mountain West Conference school. It is pure danger. You're on upset alert the week they're on your schedule.
Oh yeah.
Like we said, I have Oregon winning the national championship this year, and it's a dangerous game to play Boise State this week. Like.
Yes, because that's one of those teams that we're going to definitely discuss that. Hey, speaking of Boise State, let's go right into our week 1 game balls. I'm going to start. You mentioned it, Boise State. This is a guy that I've talked about last year and I talked about this year. Their returning running back, Ashton Jeanty, 20 carries, 267 yards, and 6 touchdowns in their 56-45 game win against Georgia Southern. Boise State absolutely went off in this game, and Ashton balled out in this game. I mean, just totally took over. And we have talked about how good he can be. And now that he's getting this opportunity, he's the main guy. I mean, he was electric, man. Absolutely electric. Makes me think of like a Keaton Mitchell.
Yes. And if I'm not mistaken, yeah, he broke the Boise State single game record, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Amazing performance.
Doing that. So who's your first game ball, man?
A guy we just talked about a few minutes ago, too, Tetairoa McMillan.
Yes.
Like you said, back and forth until he decided to shut the game down. The 10 receptions, 304 yards, 4 touchdowns, almost had an 80-yard reception. The dude is just phenomenal. Obviously, we know everything about Luther Burden and Jeremiah Smith and all these like top tier guys we've been talking about all off season. This guy does not get enough flowers. He is one of probably the top 5 receivers in college football. And he week in and week out balls out. Was so happy to see him get this performance, and he's my week 1 game ball, the first one.
Oh yeah. I'm so eager to see what he does when he moves on to that next level. Man, he's gonna make some NFL team proud. Man, I'm excited about that.
Early first round pick, first half of the first round probably.
Oh yeah. And my number 2 is a guy that we talked about. We've been talking about him, Diego Pavia. I mean, to transfer to the SEC, going to Vandy, going up against a big team that we both have a lot of respect for, and Towton is one of these guys that can win the ACC and Virginia Tech. And Diego to come onto that new team. We talk about, some of these quarterbacks and some of these teams having a, kind of a slow transition. He was able to get in there. They threw his offense in, and the guy just totally took over. 12 of 16, 190 yards passing, 2 TDs, 26 carries, 104 yards rushing, and a rushing touchdown. Their total offense, but he brings that gunslinger mentality, that swagger, that toughness to this team. That is one of the things that I do not think I'm for certain that Vanderbilt did not have in years past. Yeah. They didn't have that gutsy, I'm going to go up to you. I don't care. I'm that little chihuahua that thinks that he's the big pit bull. You know what I mean? I am very eager. And to this point, I don't know if, it's probably Vandy's still going to probably get stomped in the SEC, but I'm eager to see him go up against Georgia. I'm eager to see him go up against some of these big teams and see that toughness, because he has not backed down to any challenge that has been presented before him up to this point. So yeah, I'm definitely eager to see. All right. Who is your second game bowl?
For me, same position, another transfer guy, Cam Ward, Miami. He looked phenomenal. He was so good in that game against Florida, and Florida's defense played pretty damn well, and they still put up 40 points on that defense. So to me, 26-35, 385 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a pick. Also had 3 rushes for 33 yards. His ability to move in the pocket, make all the throws, and extend to make some of those guys get open. Phenomenal first performance on a new team. We talked earlier about how some of these other teams struggled with new guys in key positions. Miami, that's the best they've looked in a long time. That was a phenomenal performance by Cam Ward and this offense. Him and Restrepo have a connection already. The wide receiver Xavier Restrepo. That's going to be a dangerous combo all year long. I have Miami winning the ACC. To me, he's the best quarterback in the ACC, and it's not overly close.
Yeah.
So, Cam Ward, welcome to the ACC. Welcome to big time football, and second game 1 week ball.
Oh, yeah. No, that's a perfect pick, and I love every minute of it. And one of the biggest things that I loved about him and watching that game is early in the game, he throws an interception. He runs right to the sidelines, and he's like, "Show me, give me the tablet, because he wants to see what he did wrong. And he starts to beat himself up. I'm better than him. I'm better. He comes back in the game, takes him right down the field and scores. You talked about he's in full control of the team, and his
in a dangerous environment.
Exactly on the road against your rival, and he put that stamp out there, man. Hey, I love that pick, man. And he took over. And we talk about all these transfers, and some are struggling, some are doing well. He blew it out of the water, and I love every minute of it, man. Love every minute. So look, this week, because it's the first week, I don't know if we're going to keep it up, but we're going to go with our honorable mention this week. So Alex, I'm going to come to you first. Who is your honorable mention?
So it was one of these teams that we were kind of looking to see are they going to take that next step with the new conference realignment? They dodged some of the big time games. Looking at Penn State here, this is a team I think is going to do some real damage this year, and it's with guys like Harrison Wallace III stepping up, giving Drew Aller a legit wide receiver threat on the outside. Had 5 catches, 117 yards, 2 touchdowns. Was that guy that Drew Aller could look to. It's a guy that's been kind of sitting, waiting in the wings the last 2-3 years at Penn State. Brought in a guy like Julian Fleming, transfer from Ohio State, who everyone kind of thought was going to be that main guy. And Wallace was just like, nope, I'm that guy this year. This is my show. And came in and balled out.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely, man. I love that. And I was watching that one. They put that work on West Virginia, man. That defense is legit, man.
Yeah.
For sure. My other one, and this is all people that we've talked about throughout the show. My honorable mention is Devin Dampier of New Mexico, 24 of 42, 260 yards, 3 TDs, and then 15 carries, 130 yards, and 2 TDs. Even though, towards the end they're starting to get blown out, he kept them in that game throughout that game.
Mm-hmm.
And if you watch the first half and you watch the first 3 quarters, I mean, he's anything that the opposition was doing, he was going. Anything Arizona was doing, he was matching it. He was going toe to toe with Fafita, going back and forth. And it wasn't until some late turnovers and some late stops that the game started to stretch out a little bit. But Devin Dampier in the first 2 weeks has proven that he can ball, proven that the guy can play. Unfortunately, they have not been able to translate in wins, but he's going to stick with it. We talked about the guys in the Mountain West. We talked about, New Mexico and Mendenhall being there and everything. So, I still believe in Dampier that he can get it done. And I mean, we're going to see, man. We're going to see, but it's been 2 rough losses, but I definitely want to shout him out on that for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, buddy. So, we got one more thing real quick, and we're going to bring our guys back. I don't know if both of them are here, but we're going to go. We're going to go for 2. Yeah, buddy. We are definitely going for 2. I saw that Alex said he had to step out. If you are back, Alec, let me know. But other than that, we're going to stay right here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, when we do this, we end the show by just going for 2. Something we're excited for this year. Keeping it short, keeping it sweet, and just something that our little 2 cents at the end of the show. So, Nate, you're our guest. What is your going for 2 real quick, man?
My going for 2, I think this is going to be a great college football season. I think this has the makings of a story of upsets and surprises. I'm just more looking forward to just seeing just kind of how I think now we're in a different era of football now. The NIL is now fully in effect. I think it now has definitely affected college football, college sports, period. So I'm just really curious to see how, those, I think, because you still have, like, this is the last, like, full year of those that had the extra COVID year. Like, see how they're going to end their college seasons on a high note.
Their 7th season from some of these guys.
Well, I think one guy,
Tim McCormick, tight end for Miami, that's in his 9th year.
This is craziness.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. Well, it's gonna be interesting. I can't wait to see. Alex, man, what you got?
I'm gonna kind of bounce right off what Nate was saying there. I'm so excited for this college football season. The new conferences, and we kind of saw that power struggle already start with LSU USC playing.
Yeah.
I think that was the game to kind of decide which conference is getting an extra playoff team. And to me, because you look, those are probably the 4th best teams in the conference, respectively. So for me, see that power struggle, the dynamic between all these new conferences, the new 12-team playoff, how it affects everything. We get football through December now. College football through December. There's like 1 or 2 weeks off, and then we're right back into it, and later into January as well. So more college football, yes, please. I will take all of it.
Absolutely.
And we got NFL starting Thursday night.
Yes.
Ravens, Chiefs. Nate, I'm sure you are extremely excited for that one.
I am not.
I am overly excited for you.
I am.
Phenomenal week 1 slate of college football phenomenal week 1 slate of NFL football, some amazing games coming this weekend. And I mean, it rolls right back into it. I'm excited for Michigan, Texas this week. That's a massive game, massive playoff implications. And it couldn't be more excited for football to be back in general.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And hey, just piggybacking on that, man. Y'all know me. Y'all know what I've been doing with having football back, having all these games back, college and pro. It's what the doctor ordered. Point blank, period. I mean, to be able to talk about these games, be able to reconnect with you guys, even though we've been talking all off season, but to be able to reconnect on these games and go back and forth with everything that's going on. And then just the fact that this is so wide open this year, to your point, man, with the NIL and with everything with the transfer portal, with the new conferences, to this point, it still amazes me when I'm sitting here thinking about, okay, wait, Oregon, USC, Utah, UCLA, these are Big Ten teams.
Oregon
now.
with the Big Ten logo on their field was so weird to see.
It was like,
and we've been seeing it in the video game, but to see it live on TV was just like, what is going on?
Right?
Not just for football, college basketball,
everything.
Because especially like some of these teams, like they're going to definitely feel it with the travel.
Well, in the ACC, Stanford and Cal. Now them being ACC teams, and when they have to travel over to the East Coast, I mean, football is one thing, but yeah.
So we've essentially claimed the Pac-12 after dark, doing the Big Ten after dark now.
Yep.
I can't remember what week specifically it is, but there's USC travels to Rutgers for the after dark game.
Oh, wow.
It kicks off 11 p.m. Eastern.
Super late game. What?
Yeah. And I get it for most of these people, they're college kids. They're probably up still doing that on a Saturday night anyways.
Oh, yeah.
But still,
11 p.m. Eastern.
The travel is crazy.
Oh, yeah.
And at least for these guys, it's a night a week. Mm-hmm. You get basketball where USC has to travel to Rutgers on a Wednesday night, and they're expected to still keep up their grades and everything. Good luck.
Yeah. And again, that's something I think we definitely need to address as the season comes. And once we get into college basketball, and once things start to
can't come soon enough either.
It's gonna exactly. But it's gonna be interesting. It's just to see how all of this plays in, and just how each week is gonna start building and building and building into when we already start talking about this 12-team playoff and everything, and who's in, who's out. It's going to be great. Stay tuned. We're going to have so much to talk about, and just cannot wait. Wait. Nathan Snell, real quick, anything you have coming up, man?
So I'm going to I need to recap the Maryland Terrapins football team as we talked about it. We won 50-7. I talk about that. I have to get ready to preview the Baltimore Ravens as we face the.
Want to know. I'm calling it.
The Lions
we did it last year. Y'all can do it too. Yep.
Got to face the Chiefs on Thursday. I'm not looking forward to that. And get ready for the Watch Commanders on Sunday, as they play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Mm-hmm. Washington Mystics get ready to wrap their season up. And we got like nine games left of the season. It's been a very, very, very stressful season, to say the most. But and then the women's college basketball is starting up soon, so you'll see all that stuff on Big Nate Sports Talk podcast. Shout out to Anthony Handy. We did some cosmetic changes to the show, so you'll see some new things in there. But yeah, just stay tuned.
Yeah, I can dig it, man. That's what's up. Hey, can't wait, man. Can't wait. Alex, Restoring the Roar. Coming back.
I gotta try and figure some things out with working nights. It's a little hard to do shows during the week. Well, it's impossible to do shows during the week.
It's definitely impossible.
But we'll try and figure something out. Might try and get on this weekend before the game. It is a Sunday night game, so I got some time there. Yeah. But yeah, we'll see. Something's gonna come down the pipeline. Restoring the Roar, possibly NFL edition. Stay tuned. It'll be popping up here and there whenever we can get a chance.
There we go. And you already know Let's Talk Football will not be coming on tonight. But we'll be coming on this week, I believe, somewhere before the first game. We'll definitely talk about our stuff, myself and Janae Strother. Definitely
previewing to get back together.
hey, long overdue, baby. Can't
So
wait myself, man. Can't wait myself. But look, for my guy, Mr. Alex Loosemore, special guest Nathan Snell, and our buddy, Mr. Quack Quack himself, Alec Schaumburg. Hey, we appreciate you watching. I'm Sean Spencer. Hey, tune in next time. There's so much college football. Tonight, Florida State, Boston College. Check out.
They should be kicking off any moment if they haven't already.
Right. I think have they started yet? 7-0 Boston College.
Wow.
Already.
Wow. Norvell. He's getting a little hot.
And we're in the second quarter.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Oh. All right. Well, hey, tune into that game. We might have a new guy on the hot seat coming up, man. Hey, we'll see y'all next time. Peace, people. Yeah. That's why
Football Update. It's with your host, Sean Spencer. Hey.